Batching. It's the key to consistency. Batching, it builds buffer, it builds margin, it just helps relieve a lot of stress for people. And so batching is where you record multiple episodes or videos in one go.
For us, it's we've got a 3-week buffer with our podcast. We can still remain relevant to topics and ideas that we want to talk about, but we know that, hey, if we need to go on a holiday, take a break, whatever the reason, there's an emergency, we've got 3 weeks of content up our sleeve, and I can sleep well at night knowing that.
Well, welcome to another episode of Beyond the Mic. My name is Jethro Staggs, and this podcast is all about podcasting content and everything in between. I'm joined again today by my co-host, Ryan Bowles. He is the host of the Good Grief podcast. He is my friend, my mentor, and ultimately my favorite karaoke partner. How's it going today, bro?
I'm doing awesome. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm excited about this topic we're going to be talking about today.
It's a pretty cool one. And I had no idea what this was until about 2020 or so.
Yeah.
And for both of us, it kind of blew the lid right off.
I feel like the veil was really, taken away from my eyes, and I could see clearly now. The rain is gone. It was probably my favorite tool, and not only for me personally, but when I work with my clients and I introduce this topic and this tool to them, and I see what it unlocks in their minds, and just the stress and the weight that's taken off them when implementing this topic and tool, it's just...
And I couldn't agree more. It's the same with my clients and also for ourselves, because there's one thing that's harder than anything to remain consistent at online in the world that we live in, and that's content creation.
Oh, tell me about it.
If there is a way for those listening to create content in one sitting and release it over multiple days or weeks, and you've only spent one time doing that, would you like to know how?
Give me the money. Show me the money. Show me some Jerry Maguire. Jerry, show me the money.
So why don't you tell us, what is batching?
Batching. It's the key to consistency. Batching, it builds buffer, it builds margin, it just helps relieve a lot of stress for people. And so batching is where you record multiple episodes in one go. So just say you have a weekly podcast, instead of each week you're trying to film then the next week's episode, it gets exhausting, it gets tiring.
Super tiring.
You're gonna experience podcast fatigue really quickly. And so batching is where you actually record multiple episodes in one go, or I'd say one sitting is what I'd like to say.
And that's what we're doing right now.
This is episode 3. And we've taken a break in between episodes, and we're going to get into that sort of how you do batching in a second. But yeah, it's where you record multiple episodes or videos in one go. What I love about it, it reduces time, and it helps with resource management as well. Taking the time to have to set up a space like this, it's exhausting every now and then.
And you mentioned already margin, buffer. Yep. When you look at content that's set out to come, you can kind of breathe a little because you're not thinking about the next piece of content, the next podcast next week. For us, it's we've got a 3-week buffer with our podcast. We can still remain relevant to topics and ideas that we want to talk about, but we know that, hey, if we need to go on a holiday, take a break, whatever the reason, there's an emergency, we've got 3 weeks of content up our sleeve, and I can sleep well at night knowing that.
Yeah, exactly. You're not like having nightmares about
totally.
Oh no, what happens if I don't release the next episode? It is all good. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So batching, we're going to start to talk about how do you batch? How do you actually, this sounds like a really cool topic, Jethro, but how is it possible? How do I actually do this?
And I think it's different for different people.
Absolutely.
There's not just one way to batch content.
Yep.
I know you've got a bunch of different clients that all do it differently.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us about some of those examples?
Yeah, for sure. I work with some clients that have guests on their podcast, and I'm going to start with this one first because this is where batching can get a bit hard, and people probably think, oh, I do interviews, I can't batch interviews, but let me tell you, it is possible. I work with clients, and this is majority of what my clients like to do. So what they'll try and do is just say, we're recording on a Monday. We use Monday as an example, and we don't record the 2 podcasts back to back because majority of these episodes are around 45 minutes to an hour. That's a pretty long time.
You're gonna get podcast fatigue in that time, no doubt.
Absolutely. You know, you need to rest your vocal cords. There's so many aspects that go into it. And so what we like to do is maybe schedule interview number 1 at 10 a.m. and then interview number 2 at 2 p.m. And then that's just some lunch in between, take a brain break, go for a walk outside, just little things like that. Just hit reset, hit refresh, and make sure you're actually differentiating interview 1 from interview 2. They're not the same episode.
We don't want the same questions and the same thoughts.
Not the same questions. Yeah, it's not a rinse and repeat.
Totally.
So yeah, and I've seen a lot of great success come from that. You know, my clients are pretty successful people. So they, you know, one person went away for like 6 weeks to Europe. And so we're like, okay, how do we do this? We need to build a content backlog. So we did batching. We did a few different batching time slots.
And did you do 6 weeks or did you do longer? What
yeah, well, so they had a fortnightly podcast. So obviously then that's 3 episodes while they were gone. But I think we had about 5 or 6 up our sleeve. So we had like an extra month or and a half after they got back of episodes, which is fantastic. So yeah, I see a lot of great success with it. And then obviously if you're not doing an interview and it's by yourself, it can be a little bit easier to do batching.
Yeah, and maybe just to tie off on the guest interview.
Yeah.
If you do 2 episodes in one day, even if you just remain at that cadence, every week you're building a backlog of 1 extra episode that you record. So you can really set yourself up for a win long term.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you can just, I love what you said, if you can just add one more to what you were doing right now, you're 1 ahead. Obviously, you want to try and be 2 or 3 ahead, like you are doing now. Great example. But yeah, just add 1 more to what you're currently doing.
So if you don't have guests, and maybe it's a piece to camera solo podcast, or maybe a show like this where you've got a co-host, you're able to batch more content in a shorter period of time. We're aiming for anywhere from 5-8 minutes to 20 minutes podcast in length, where there's putt here, we've got water, we're going for a walk in between each episode, and I don't know, the goal's maybe 5 episodes today.
Yeah.
And that'll set you in good stead.
Yeah, absolutely.
For weeks to come.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, I feel confident sitting here tonight, realizing that, hey, I'm going to actually have a good buffer of content. It means I can relax a bit, I think, yeah.
And I think the other benefit is you can piggyback off the episodes previous and learn from those things that you could have done better and improve it immediately. Yeah. Rather than recording an episode thinking I could have done that better, but forgetting about all of those things the week later.
Absolutely.
So we're improving as we go on each episode, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
In one sitting.
Yep. After every episode that Ryan and I have done so far in this one setting, we're reviewing, okay, that worked well, or maybe we need to just focus on that better, or let's just tighten that, or let's relax a bit here. So yeah, absolutely. It's all about continuous improvement, and batching is a great way to do that. I think that's a fantastic example. So we've talked about the what.
Yep.
We've talked about the how. What happens? Yeah. What else do we got to do?
Well, from here, I guess the biggest key I would say for getting batching started, and we're kind of going in reverse now, like last thing first, is picking a day and sticking with it to record your podcast. So I'll speak from personal, and then you can maybe share some client stuff. If it's not in your calendar, it doesn't exist. And so for Kaylee and myself, my wife and I, for our podcast, Wednesday is podcast day. It's 8 till 11. We've got margin there built into our week with our business and clients and everything that we know Wednesday's podcast day. We wake up, that's what we're doing today.
Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday. It's a podcast day. So pulling that into your calendar, whether that if you're filming weekly, bi-weekly or monthly, whatever your cadence looks like, if it's not in your calendar, it doesn't exist. So start by scheduling time. And if you're anything like Jethro or myself, if you don't commit to that time that you've allocated, it'll eat away at you and you'll do something about it.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a great example. Pick a date, pick a time and stick with it. With some of my clients, what we do is, because obviously they have to book in a time for us to be able to, that the studio is available, but then they're also available, and then the guest is also available. So there's a couple of different cogs spinning at once. But it's the same thing. I let some of my clients know dates and times, and then they have to be like, okay, I've got to make that date work. I've got to make that time work. That's the only chance I have. And so it's good to be able to just add that, just a little bit of extra pressure, a bit of extra giddy up, type of thing.
Accountability.
We'll call it accountability. Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. So yeah, we've picked a date, And now it's coming up with the topics to speak about. So it's not just, you're not just preparing one episode, you're preparing 2 episodes, 3 episodes, 5 episodes. And this is something that you do well. I think I do it as well, really good as well. We've done it with this podcast, and it's coming up with a document, a spreadsheet, wherever, a library, whatever it is, whatever has quick access. You need to be able to, the most important thing, you need to have quick access to this.
So we like just Google spreadsheets.
Yep.
The simplest way to do that.
Absolutely.
And we just keep it as a running live living document.
Yep.
And so we hear from a few different places on how we get topics. Maybe that's something we can talk about.
Yep.
Number one, we love asking our audience.
Oh, it's all about the audience.
What they want to hear about. I've said it on previous episodes. I don't want to talk about something that they don't want to hear. I only want to talk about things that they want to hear. So we keep a live document. We ask them. We also check what are people in our niche, in our space doing, competitors, you know, people similar. What are they talking about that we could take, remix, and then put out as our own?
Awesome. Putting
our spin on it, our take on it, our expertise on it. Yeah. And then the third thing, if you're really struggling, is go to ChatGPT.
ChatGPT is your friend.
It's a great place to just ideate with some things and see what else comes out that you could take further.
Yeah, even just some like quick like ChatGPT prompts. It's just like, what are the most common questions in this area or this topic? And so just in gating a list, get as much as possible, and then you can don't be afraid to use AI. That's all I can say.
And while we're on that, another website and tool that we've used frequently over the years is called answerthepublic.com.
Answer the Public.
It will comb Google and search results across the web and give you the most common answers, keywords, and questions that people have been asking and searching for in your specific topic. So you can use that. It's a free tool. You can get a couple of searches for free.
Yep, it's amazing. And so this document is a live document, and you're just putting topics as you go, not just when you're about to record, but throughout the day. You could be driving to work. Hey Siri, write this down, you know, or you could be on the toilet, you know, wherever you get your ideas, in the shower, anything like that. Make sure to write these ideas down. So then when it comes time to your preparing for your batching day, you can just go to the list. Okay, cool. I want to talk about this topic. That's going to work. These are going to blend in together, and sort of make sure that there's a flow with the episodes as well. Whatever is going to help you on that day and remove as much friction and barriers as possible is what you need to do.
I think the biggest thing about batching is it's scary until you do it. Once you do it, you realize, why didn't I start this earlier?
Yeah, absolutely. So, batching, it's a key to consistency, builds margin, it builds buffer. Pick a date. Make sure you get it in the calendar. As Ryan said, if it's not in the calendar, it is not real. And then have a plan. So have a list of topics. Continue to build on that throughout the week. Do you think there's anything else to batching?
I'd probably say it's like a muscle. So when you start, don't put so much expectation on filming 5 episodes. Maybe start with 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And see how you go from that point forward.
Yep. I think that sounds great. I think that's enough about batching now.
Totally.
Would love to hear from you guys if you do batching, if you've done it before. Maybe this is a new topic for you. Why don't you send us a message on social media? If you aren't connected with us, check out StoryRocket on Instagram. Send us a DM. We would love to hear your thoughts on batching, and let us know if you found this episode valuable. Well, my name's Jethro, and this is Ryan, and it's another episode of Beyond the Mic. Have a great day.